So, to kick us off, I'm delighted to introduce three incredible leaders who embody the spirit of collaboration and progress. We have Hayley Lever, CEO at GM Moving, who's been a driving force for active lives and inclusion across Greater Manchester. We've got Justine Blomley, CEO at Merseyside Sports Partnership, whose commitment to community and partnership is helping shape a brighter future for women and girls in sport. And Lisa O'Keefe, Secretary General at the International Working Group on Women in Sport, who brings a global perspective and passion for equality that inspires all. Now, Lisa will be joining us via a recorded video, but we're nevertheless very, very pleased to have her as part of our welcome. So Hayley and Justine will set the scene for why this partnership matters, and we'll also hear the special message from Lisa after that.
Thank you. So hi everyone, my name's Hayley Lever. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Chief Executive of Greater Manchester Moving. Our collective mission here is active lives for all. For those who can't see me, I have a mixed expression this afternoon, a smile, first of all, of pride and gratitude for those who brought us here today, and a slightly furrowed brow of determination for the work that we still need to do on this agenda. Imagine a world where every girl knew she belonged on any pitch. Every woman knew that they belonged in every boardroom, and every girl, woman, trans woman and non-binary person felt safe to run, walk, scoot and play in our streets and parks. Imagine that were the reality of life in every neighbourhood, town and place across Greater Manchester and Liverpool City region. That's why I'm here today, and that's why we're all here today. Growing up, I played Kirby and football in my street and on my garden, and on my green in Coventry, where I grew up. I was the first girl to play on the primary school football team. I played every day and I loved it. And then at secondary school, I was told by the boys' head of PE that I couldn't play anymore, not even at break time. I might get hurt. It wasn't for girls, and I was gutted. Thankfully, I had a brilliant girls' PE teachers and youth workers who helped me to continue my love of sport, playing basketball, doing trampolining, canoeing, and holding on to the sense of freedom and enjoyment of sport through those critical teenage years, into volunteering and a career in sports development. And the thing that got me my first proper job was the fact that I'd been volunteering with the Women's Sports Foundation in Newcastle. My journey from there to here is too long for today. You can read it about it in my forthcoming book, which will be out next month. I still love to move every day, and the meaning, value and joy I have so wired in helps me to find new ways to move as my life continues to change. At work, I have an awesome team of strong women and non-binary people who are exceptional leaders. I have male allies. I work with awesome women every day in our partner organisations across Greater Manchester and nationally, and the culture of our leadership is strengthened by the diversity of our people. But I also spend a lot of time in senior meetings and boardrooms that are predominantly male. The glass ceiling is there. You can find a hole and be squeezed through it, but it hasn't been removed yet. Gender equity in sport and the workplace is a professional priority for me, and it's a deeply personal one too. In Greater Manchester, we're proud of our sporting heritage, our feminist history and our everyday action. We've come a long way, and we have a long way still to go. We know that equity and justice are not yet our reality, and Neve from our team will share some data shortly that will bring that to life. Our team and our partners are working every day to change this. There are incredible examples of projects, programmes and courageous leadership and action everywhere. When women and girls thrive through movement, activity and sport, they thrive in life, and our communities thrive with them. Sport is a mirror of society and a lever for change, and when we achieve equity and justice in sport, we send a message to every sector, every country and every girl that they belong. I absolutely have loved watching the Rugby World Cup over recent weeks, for the diversity of the players, for the power and the strength of the people. I sat in my local pub for the final where two girls were playing in their princess dresses, and their dad excitedly called out to them that the women's rugby final was on. And they saw and felt and heard a whole pub full of people watch, respect and cheer and celebrate those players in all their shapes, sizes and strengths. That's a really different world to the one I grew up in. And it's changed since my three daughters were born 18 plus years ago. In many respects, it is a better world, but there are threats and headwinds to progress, and we do need to address them. I am hopeful and optimistic that the next generation of girls, young women, non-binary and transgender women of all backgrounds and abilities will experience a better culture, context and conditions, and that we will together shift the dial on equity and movement, physical activity and sport, and in the wider society. But I know that progress isn't inevitable. It requires intention, investment of time, energy and resource, and relentless advocacy and courage to name and remove those barriers. And that's why I've loved reading all the reasons you've said you're here today when you signed up. You said you were here to develop coaching, develop participation through youth work, to lead on the inclusion of disabled people, because your data tells you have twice as many male as female participants, because increasing activity for marginalised and diverse communities is your priority. And you're coming from sport, social care, every sport from bocce to paddleboarding to rugby and football, from transport, policing, council public health, social enterprise, national governing bodies, community organisations, and you are community leaders, business leaders and people developers. The one I loved reading the most was somebody saying they were coming because they don't do anything yet or have a plan, but they need to and want to support their staff and service users to live more active lives. That's brilliant. You're all welcome. And what did you say you needed? Support, allyship, information, networks, contacts, encouragement, good examples, different thinking, ideas and innovations. Gender equity matters to all of us and we all have a role to play. So whether you're a policymaker, a coach, a parent or a CEO, this matters to you and you matter to it. Together we can create equality for women and girls. An equal society is a thriving society, and when we all play our part, real change is possible. All of this needs support and allyship from men, women, gender diverse people, strategic leaders and community leaders. I've had the absolute pleasure and privilege to work with one such ally, Justine Blomley, for nearly 9 years now. Most recently in her role as CEO at the Merseyside Sports Partnership, and we've been together working on this for a year now. So I'm going to pass over to Justine to tell us why this matters to her and what we have been doing together and what we have planned. Justine.
Thanks, Hayley. That's great. And I would echo an awful lot of what you've said there, but I will pick up. So I'm Justine Blomley, as Hayley and as you two have introduced. I am a white woman in my mid-50s who currently looks like I am in need of an awful lot more sleep. And my pronouns are she, her. Why this matters to me? So to build from what Hayley has just said, I've worked in the sport and physical activity and movement sector for over 35 years. I started life as a PE teacher, and I have moved through various roles. And over that time, my understanding and passion for what movement and physical activity can do for people has grown. But also my understanding of where women and girls are prevented and face barriers has also grown. So there is much unfinished business in every country in the world in terms of the gender equity. And the basic fact is that women are significantly less likely to participate in sport, physical activity or movement. And that simple fact is a real burning driver in terms of everything that we have been doing, both as an organisation and as a city region in terms of this work. In 2021, progress in gender parity was actually found to have gone backwards from 68.6% in 2019 to just 68% in 2020, due in large part to a ripple effect of the pandemic. But if we continue at the kind of pace of change that we've been seeing, and we are hearing people say that we've gone far enough in terms of gender equity, but if we continue at the pace we've been going at, it will take us 135 years plus to reach full gender parity in terms of closing that gap worldwide. And as excited as I was to be in the stadium in terms of the women's final for the Rugby World Cup, and that was the most successful women's Rugby World Cup we've ever had, it is also with great kind of heart-sinking feeling that I read the other day that the Australian women's rugby team have just had their funding cut. on return to Australia. So much still to do. So while we can be really positive on the one hand, and we know that much work has been achieved, we still have an awful lot to do. So for me, this is not only about the joy of moving and what it brings to each individual woman, but it is also about the impact that this can have on families, but also on men and boys. Basically, if we gain equality, then we all gain, and everything from a societal point of view will move forward. This is also for me about the wider societal and cultural challenge that we're facing, the prevalence of toxic masculinity, and how women and girls are treated, and what we are currently seeing in the world. And so there is a massive drive for me in terms of how we use sport, physical activity and movement to really shift our culture. What is IWG, and why would we want to sign up as 2 city regions, and why have we been on this journey for, as Hayley says, a year? I'm massively excited that this morning we've announced that we've signed up to the Brighton Declaration, and it's the Brighton plus Helsinki Declaration with the International Working Group on Women and Sport, which is quite a mouthful. But this is with a clear commitment to accelerating gender equality in movement, sport and physical activity. IWG, or the International Working Group on Women and Sport, is a global network dedicated to advancing equality and equity for women in sport and physical activity. And the vision they have is that sport and physical activity is of sport and physical activity contributing to a world where women and girls thrive. So this really aligns really well with both our regional ambitions, and really chimes well and provides us with another force of energy, so that the sign up turbocharges our collective work as 2 city regions and 2 sister city regions working together, and provides that focus and energy for us all. And I mean all, and I am now looking at 150 people, I think, across this call, to really galvanize ourselves and to really focus on that shared purpose and shared mission and ambition. We know that there is an awful lot of great work already going on. We're going to hear about some, really hear about 3 particular ones today, but we know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of examples across both our city regions of great things that are going on, and we can hear and see that there is commitment to do more. This is a world first in us signing up to the IWG Brighton plus Helsinki Declaration. There have been many, in fact, over 600 sign-ups from a kind of sport national governing body perspective, but 2 place sign-ups together is a historic moment and something that we can all be proud of. And the Secretariat for IWG is currently in the UK. It has been here since 2022. It will culminate in a global summit in July 2026 in Birmingham, and it would be great if we can talk and showcase some of the work that we already know is going on, but hopefully we're going to build more as we move forward from here. So this is very much a moment of really kickstarting more of this work and really starting to turbocharge. So do please tell us what you think is needed, what we can do to help you, and how we can support you more in terms of closing that gender gap. I'm going to pass over and introduce now Lisa O'Keefe, who is currently the Secretary General of the International Working Group on Women and Sport. Lisa would have loved to have been with us today, but is currently out in Japan working on a women's leadership program. So we recorded this clip of film, which we're hoping the tech gods will allow us to play, and you will be able to hear. Thank you.
So I'm here today with colleagues from the Greater Manchester and Liverpool city regions. Today, both of the city regions have signed up to the Brighton plus Helsinki Declaration, and it's a piece of wider work that both city regions are involved in, really innovative, in which they have created the opportunity for organisations across their respective city regions to come together, to collaborate and look at what they can do together to create opportunities for women and girls in and through sport and physical activity. I'm really thrilled, one, to partner with both organisations, but also to see the way in which they've approached this and created a space and an opportunity for people to come together, to work together and to create opportunities which will genuinely change lives. It's a real thrill to have them both sign up to the Brighton plus Helsinki Declaration. And I really look forward to opportunities to share what they're doing further with everybody within the IWG network.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What an exciting time. I just want to say thank you so much to Hayley and to Justine, and thank you to Lisa for that inspiring and encouraging message. Now, just a little notice before we move on to the next part of our program. The session is being recorded. I know you would have seen that by now, but I hadn't mentioned it. So just so you know, there will be a comfort break midway through the session. And please don't forget to enjoy and participate. There is a lot of wonderful stuff that's happening today. And we're just going to get into the why behind our time together today. We know that numbers tell a powerful story, and Neve Carroll, our research and evaluation lead at GM Moving, is here to share the data that's driving our mission. Neve, over to you.
Perfect, thank you. Afternoon, everyone. My name's Neve. I use she, her pronouns as well, and I work in the research and evaluation team at Greater Manchester Moving. And I've also been doing quite a bit of work across our two active partnerships on this agenda over the last couple of months. So you've already heard, I suppose, a little bit of the background to this work and the drive and the passion there is across our city regions and nationally to increase physical activity levels for women and girls. And I suppose just to add to this framing, looking at the data helps give us that added context and to better understand why this drive and this focus on women and girls is really needed. So if we start by looking at the active lives data, so Sport England conduct a national survey which aims to collect data around physical activity, and using this insight we can see that nationally across England there is a clear and sustained gender inactivity gap. So when we're talking about inactivity, we're talking about people who are doing less than 30 minutes of activity per week. And overall what we see nationally is that women across the country are more inactive than their male counterparts, which starts to paint the picture as to why we're here, and I suppose why everyone is here in this room today. Should we go to the next slide, please, Andrew? Perfect. So if the data tells us that this gap exists and provides us that added context as to why we need to do this work, if we start to look at the regional data and we flip it and focus on activity levels, so this is people doing 150 minutes of activity per week, we can also start to understand why we as two city regions have been committed to working together to understand and tackle this issue. So we can see that across both Greater Manchester and Liverpool City region, we have lower average activity levels for women than we see nationally. So the stats on your screen there show that across England, average activity levels for women sit around 61.4%, whereas for Greater Manchester and Liverpool City region, it's 59 and 58% respectively. So that adds a little bit of context as to not just why we're here in this room, but why we've decided to work together across Greater Manchester and Liverpool City region. Just go to the next slide. Perfect. So these graphs are a little bit smaller, but I think the slides will get shared afterwards so people can have a bit more of a look at them. But if we dig down into the data a little bit further, we can start to see how the national picture is mirrored locally, and we can start to get an idea of what the gender activity gap is in our regions. So as you can see from these graphs, across both our city regions, there is a significant gap between men's and women's activity levels, and we start to get a sense of some of the sustained efforts that will be needed to address the current picture, and why some of the work that's going to be showcased today is so important in doing this. Next slide, please. But as nice and kind of clear-cut as those graphs look, unfortunately, inactivity amongst women and girls is not as clear-cut as those graphs might suggest. And we also have to look at things through an intersectional lens. So understanding how intersecting characteristics means that some women are significantly less active than what we see when we look at that average figure. So if the average figure for activity levels for across our city regions are 58 and 59%, we can see that there is then a significant gap for different groups of women. So when we look at different characteristics, the lowest activity levels across our city regions are for women with limited illnesses and women who live with a disability, women not in work, women from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, women aged 55 to 74, and women from ethnic minorities. And this highlights the approaches to tackling the gender inactivity gap need to be informed by intersectionality to ensure we're creating the conditions that need to be in place to really get at the heart of tackling some of these deeper inequalities. Next slide, please. Perfect. So probably all of that might lead us to ask the question why. So the active lives data gives us an indication of current activity levels for women and girls, and it's really useful in allowing us to track over time changes in trends and the gaps that we're seeing. But it doesn't tell us much about the reasons women are often less active than men. And so by widening the lens and looking at other research and data, we can start to build up a better sense of some of the systemic barriers that might prevent women from being active. So when we think about safety, when we think about violence against women and girls, the menopause, time poverty, the gender pay gap, enjoyment and confidence, not necessarily things that initially come to mind when we're talking about physical activity, but all really vital factors that influence people's ability to be active. And again, highlighting the role that everybody in this room has to play in this agenda. And this was just a very quick overview, and the kind of focus of some of this data is on women. But if there is an appetite, then we can put on a future session to kind of go a bit further into some of the data, particularly and bring in more insight for the picture around girls and young women, and start to understand how we can actually use some of this data and insight to influence our work and decision making. I think that's all of them.
Really appreciate you, Neve. Intersectionality shows so much, and understanding that is so essential for finding and creating truly impactful responses to things like inactivity in women and girls. Now, something that came out nice and clear from your signups is that you wanted to connect and learn from each other. So let's get talking. In the breakout rooms, you can introduce yourself, share why you're here, and share if anything surprised you from the data you've just seen. It's something of a whistle-stop tour, but did anything surprise you, or did it just confirm what you already knew? It'll be lovely to see some conversations happening. Please remember while you're in the breakout rooms to treat each other with respect and kindness, and have confidentiality in what you end up discussing in the breakout rooms. Remember, you can share the story, but not the actual person. And yeah, get to know each other. That's what you said you wanted, and we're making sure we've made space for it. So don't be shy. It's your chance to make some new connections and start to spark some new ideas. So we'll keep the groups nice and small so everyone gets a voice. See you back in about 10 minutes. All right, wonderful. Welcome, everybody. The cacophony of sound when everyone returned is incredibly promising. So I hope you had some great conversations. Now it's time for even more inspiration. Just to say thanks to everyone sharing stories today, hopefully showing what is not only possible, but happening right now. We'll have generous examples of organizations working together, community-driven initiatives, changes to the environments we live, work, and are active in. We'll hear real stories from people making a difference, starting with Anna Farrell, Head of Football Development for Liverpool County Football Association, and Chief Constable Rob Carden from Merseyside Police. They're here to share the Liverpool County Football Association She Inspires story. Now, She Inspires is a Liverpool FA initiative to ensure women and girls get full access to football across Liverpool and Merseyside. Anna, Rob?
Hi everyone.
Over to you.
Firstly, thank you for inviting us to present on our She Inspires programme. if you want to go to the next slide, please. So I was asked to give you a bit of a story about the programme and how it all started. And in 2022, Merseyside Police and Merseyside Police Crime Commissioner launched their Violence Against Women and Girls strategy. And sadly, in Merseyside, there was 4 murders of 4 young girls. And the police and the crime commissioner, amongst other partners, were trying to address some of the issues that we were having in society. I attended a league meeting in my previous role as Women and Girls Officer, and a coach approached me and said, do you think there's any opportunities for the police to engage through football with young girls who could be vulnerable? And I just jumped at the chance and said yes. In Merseyside, we'd work with the police on addressing gang issues with young boys, but we'd never done anything with girls. So it just seemed like a fantastic opportunity to use football as a catalyst to address some of the social issues that we were seeing across our area. When we originally met with the police, it was a case of what can we do? We looked as a county and said, well, we haven't really got coaches on the ground. We've got our grassroots clubs. We're going to need more help with this. So we initiated meetings with Everton in the community and Liverpool FC Foundation. We convened, we sat down and we came up with this programme. And it was a simple 12-week coaching sessions in areas identified in Merseyside by Merseyside Police. And we would run some football sessions linked into some of our grassroots women's and girls teams. Some of the funding that we would receive for those participants involved in it, they would get an opportunity to complete a referee's course, or they could go on to the level 1 coaching badge. And at the end of the programme, we would deliver in partnership with, or in conjunction with the Women's Euros, a football tournament. So if you want to go to the next slide, it'll show you a bit what we've done.
I'm really pleased to be here at the Jeffrey Humble playing field today as part of our She Inspires football tournament. It's really great that this is a joint project between myself and the Chief Constable. We really want women to have the same opportunities, being able to get involved in sport, get involved in football. We know how important sport is, particularly football, for the region, so I'm really pleased that myself and the police are able to make a big contribution. We're working with Liverpool FA, we're working with Liverpool and Foundation, we're working with Everton in the community to give them access to some training, skills development. We're also making sure they get a qualification out of it as well. So they might be able to go on to be professional referees or coaches in the future to make sure that they're having access to lots of opportunities they might not otherwise have had. I've just met some of the young women who've been doing the training here in preparation for the tournament on the 3rd of July. Really great to hear about how much they've learned, the interactions they've had with the police, but also importantly the confidence that they're building. They're learning about leadership, they're learning around how to work together as closely as a team, and they're already starting to think about how that will benefit them as they go forward into their future careers. So really, really wonderful evening. A big thank you to everybody involved in making the project happen. I'm really pleased.
Yeah, so in the first year, we came back and we critiqued and went through some of the M&E, the monitoring evaluation that we had from the initial year. And the community sessions work well. However, we knew that we needed to get this out to a bigger number of girls. We needed to start breaking down barriers to get the girls engaging with Merseyside Police and to educate them on like the vulnerabilities that were out there, whether that was county lines, joining a gang, domestic and social abuse. And we came up with a different idea and a different approach, and we said we were going to head towards the secondary schools and work directly with them. So we developed a programme with Merseyside Police Safer Schools programme. They identified the secondary schools in the areas of need. And we developed a programme targeting year 8 and 9 pupils. We didn't want it to just be football. We wanted to educate the girls and their teachers, so the teachers were able to support the students as and when they needed help. But also it not only targeting the girls who were active in football, not the football team. We wanted the girls who were inactive, they weren't engaging in school, whether that be through the curriculum or through any sporting activity. So we created a bespoke workshop. We said we wanted to bring all the girls together. So we delivered 2 mass engagement events. And in those engagement events, in the first year we done them, the girls were very, very standoffish when they turned up. So there would be a football element on the pitch where it was just turn up and play. They'd have a few kick arounds, a few little games, and they'd do some drills. And then we'd have a stall set up in one of the rooms here at Liverpool FA, where we would bring in the Violence Reduction Partnership, local colleges, other sports, and just giving the girls opportunities to get involved. Like I said, the girls were extremely standoffish when they first arrived. There was a lot of, shall we say, things going on. The police would bring down their matrix and firearms department, the road policing, the mounted and dog teams, the fire service were there, the ambulance. And like I said, it was all about breaking down those barriers that those girls looked and thought, I'm a bit scared. By the end of the day, you had police officers playing football on the pitch with the girls. The girls were sitting on the bikes. They were asking questions. They were asking what support's out there if I want to become a police officer. They were engaging with boxing, and the feedback that we got overall from them mass engagement events was they were the best part of the programme. The girls engaging with other girls from different areas. And then from that, we said from football perspective, if you wanted to join a team, here's the opportunity for you to do so. If any of them wanted to become a referee, we provided them with the opportunity to become a referee. So again, that programme has evolved over the years, and where we finished up last year was 40 secondary schools involved, 600 girls engaged. The bespoke workshop still continued. And what happened was when we sent the Everton and Liverpool coaches into the schools, they broke down barriers with the girls, that some of them opened up about some issues that they were having. Sadly, it was self-harm, and they didn't feel comfortable raising that with their parents or the teachers, but the coaches built that rapport up with the girls over the 12-week period. So we were able to help and support those girls. In the last year, we introduced stadium visits, which was a huge success to the programme. They went to Goodison Park at the time, and then they went over to Anfield for 2 separate days. And both of those days were themed. So one was built around healthy relationships, and the other one was all supporting around, like I said, the issues that we face on the grounds in society. And the teachers were given the support and guidance that they needed, and we made sure that we created local champions through the programme, that the girls are meeting local footballers, local boxers, and we made sure that they had those opportunities to continue the sport in their local area. So if you want to see what those engagement days were like, that's the next slide along, please.
I see it as it's opportunities to get them out of school, get out the comfort zone, learn in the workshops different things that might inspire them in the future, and obviously some get them to play football and some might find a love for football here today.
Yeah, just having a bit of fun as well, and all just girls inspiring them to be like you.
So how important is community engagement to the community? I think it's vital. I think it's vital that for policing, for us to really reach out to our communities in a meaningful way, where it means something to them and it has an impact on them.
I think that things like this are now in place. It's giving girls the opportunity to come out of school, express themselves, maybe find a love for something, whether it be football or whether it be something in the workshops that they might inspire to take up in their extra time. I think it shows that all the partners have got the same beliefs and same interests of where they want to be, and I think if they all push together it can have a really positive impact.
We're in the community, so we want to kind of work with everyone within our local and wider communities, and this really aligns with what Everton community is about in terms of providing opportunities and experiences for those that we work with to kind of access positive opportunities.
I think it's things like this that kind of really show like what the community, what all the kind of organisations are doing to try and tackle some of the kind of real issues, you know, in life, and things like this today just give the girls that little bit of hope and inspiration, and I guess it shows them that people care.
When I was younger I never had these opportunities, and obviously as the women's game is growing we need to make sure that there's the opportunities there for the younger girls to play, and this is, you know, the exact type of thing that we need.
football's huge in that, in terms of the leadership, motivation, self-awareness, self-esteem. We know that that's what football can bring to people, so it's good to bring them all in this environment, and it's great to see that the female game's growing and growing, and giving, you can see the confidence in the girls is getting better each year.
I think it's about just giving them opportunity. It's about showing them what they can achieve. It's about supporting them, investing in them. It's about empowering them so they feel they can go on to do whatever they want, whether that is to maybe join the police, whether that is to go on and be a referee or be a professional footballer, or whatever it might be. We're also looking at how we can build their skills and their confidence, so giving them those skills that will help them to go out into the world after they leave school as well.
The She Inspires has really helped me because obviously I've gained the qualifications from it, so the refereeing and then getting my introduction to coaching to then go into my UEFA C. It was really helpful because obviously if we have more girls it shows that we can do it, and also if we can get them in the male game it would be really good.
I remember when I first met Charlie, and it was through social media. She was a shy little girl just getting into football. Now look at her, she's doing so much for a local team. She's doing all refereeing. She's doing so much for the county FA, and I'm so proud of her because where she's come from, how quiet and shy she is, now she's taken the game to next levels.
Thank you. So this is where we are as of this academic year. The programme again has evolved even more, that we've been funding through Merseyside Police. We've recruited 2 full-time officers, both based at Everton in the community and the LFC Foundation, with their main job, or their job is basically to deliver this programme. We have looked at things that are happening on the ground. I think everyone will have seen the film Adolescence, and we know that there's issues going on with incels, misogyny, and before that came out we had already addressed that maybe we need to get into boys and start looking at allyship, bystander intervention, and educating boys on providing females with equal opportunities. So we're going into primary schools next year as well. So 20 primary schools will be split into male, the classrooms will be split into male and female. The boys will receive support on calling out abuse and misogyny and promoting equality and for women and girls within sport and in life in general. We will be continuing the programme into the local 20 secondary schools. All those schools are identified through the Safer Schools programme, like I said, through Merseyside Police. We map out where our clubs are in those areas to provide those exit routes for any of those girls and boys who want to continue playing in the community. 3 mass engagement events will continue. And Charlie, who you've seen on that video previously, has just been recruited as an assistant football development officer for women and girls here at Liverpool FA. I think if you want to hear from one of the participants, that is on the next slide now.
The She Inspires program and tournaments means a lot to me. It helps me with my confidence, my teamwork, and so many other stuff on how to help others when they're in need. I've had patience, I've learned how to respect others and have courage myself. It has really changed my career because I have the confidence to do what I want to do without having to think about what other people think of me, and how to love myself more, believe in yourself, have courage in yourself. No one can do anything better more than you.
And then lastly, just some accolades and recognition that the programme has won, both nationally and regionally. We've won a Women and Girls FA Award, most recently Northwest Prestige Sports Initiative, a Police Community First Award. We presented the programme to the Violence Against Women and Girls lead, DC Blythe, and at the time, the Home Secretary, Priti Patel. A squad of girls from the programme will be representing England at the Street World Cup, which is in Mexico next year. Next slide, please. There's been a lot of commendations from the Chief Constable. Like I said, we've recruited Charlie Garrod as our assistant FDO, as well as one girl from the programme actually going into the police herself this year as well. She's now a member of the force in Merseyside. We've appeared on BBC Crime Watch and Granada Tonight, promoting the programme and the impact that it's having. And like I said, it's been broadcast at the FA Community Shield at Wembley, and we've received recognition at Violence Against Women and Girls Ambassador Award for our outstanding work. So overall, 2,000 places are being given out to young girls, and it's only going to be getting bigger. Feedback that we receive is that it's given them more support in teamwork, resilience, confidence, leadership, and it's also helping their teachers as well and giving them the support that they need to ensure that they're supporting their female pupils too. So that's it. Any questions?
Bravo, bravo. Thank you so much. I clicked.
I don't know, the Chief Constable, do you want to say anything on behalf of Merseyside Police?
Thanks, Anna. Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks for letting me take part, talk about what is a tremendous initiative. So I've only just come back to Merseyside about 6 weeks ago. I left in 2022, but before I left in 2021, I was the Chief Officer Lead for Parity 21. That's basically the women's network in Merseyside Police. Worked with a lady, Sue Taggart. She's currently the Chief Executive with the Police and Crime Commissioner, Emily Spurrell. We just set up the Female Military Leadership course, and I was approached by a colleague called Neil Fletcher, whose daughter played football, and basically I think he does a bit of coaching, Neil, as well. And he'd come with the idea. He was the link really to Merseyside Police, and it's sort of his sort of confidence and passion that's pushed it with chief officers. So he sold it to me, and we went in together to do a pitch to chief officers at the chief officers morning briefing, and the sort of Merseyside Police sort of involvement in this is history. So basically I left to transfer to another force for 3 years. I've been away for 3 years, so I saw it right at the start, and it's Neil Fletcher's he's got to take the credit for this. But it's great to come back. I've only been back in the force 6 weeks, and it's great to see what it has been created and what it's developed into. It's a massive programme. It empowers young women through sport, more specifically, of course, a beautiful game. I'm a big football fan anyway. But if you think of the national context, and certainly from concerns I've got as a senior police officer, we've got violence against women and girls being described as a national emergency. In the last 12 months alone, you're talking about 1 million sexual assaults, 2.2 million domestic assaults, 1.5 million incidents of stalking. That's why the government have embarked on the Safe Streets initiative as a commitment there to halve violence against women and girls over the next 10 years. The thing is, we can't arrest ourselves out of that problem, that challenge. It's simply not possible. It's a societal and cultural challenge, and it needs partnerships and opportunities to change minds, behaviours and cultures. And the She Inspires programme is one way of doing exactly that. So it's more about football. It's more than just football. It's about unlocking potential. And I'd say my list would be challenge stereotypes, building self-confidence and self-esteem, unlocking leadership qualities. It's about having fun, networking, building friendships, obtaining qualifications. And you've heard from the fantastic videos that you've just seen there, even unlocking career pathways. So it is an incredible programme. Gives girls across Merseyside the chance to take part in fun, motivational football sessions led by, they are professional coaches from Liverpool Foundation and Everton in the community, two amazing organisations hosted by Liverpool County Football Association. So I think it's fantastic. Everton in the community and LFC Foundation are involved. There's some real weight there. I won't go through the numbers again, but it is about more. It's more the numbers. It's about impact. And I think as a police officer and police officer colleagues, police staff colleagues, it's important we're part of initiatives like this, positive ones, to build trust, break down barriers, and show young people the positive possibilities ahead of them. I think the programme's success is definitely down to the dedication of partners, and to the enthusiasm of the girls who are seizing the opportunity and growing in confidence at the same time. It's a great event. It's creating a real change. It's changing lives. Really proud to be part of it, and I'd commend it to you wholeheartedly.
Thank you ever so much, Anna and Rob. Thank you so much for your generosity. Thank you for your time today. And it really is quite amazing. It's really quite amazing that you can have such impactful work that sometimes people think is impossible when everyone just plays to their strengths. So I hope I trust you are all incredibly proud of yourselves, and much appreciation to everyone who's ensured that this was resourced enough to have the mega impact that we've just seen. And coming up, we have another brilliant example of what is possible when we work together. I know some of you will have some ponderings and wonderings. Please pop it in the chat. We will pick it up, but we want to ensure you can hear all these wonderful stories of the great work that's happening right now. The Right to the Street is an initiative founded on the belief that everyone has a role to play and to make our streets, parks, and public spaces safer, more joyful and welcoming places. In 2022, using Home Office funding, GM Moving worked alongside partners in Trafford to explore how to make our streets and public spaces more welcoming for women and girls. Katie Rogers, GM Moving strategic lead for Healthy Active Places, is here to share more about the work, the impact, and the legacy.
Hello. Hopefully you can all hear me. If you move on to the next slide, Andrew. So yeah, as we mentioned, the home for the Rights to the Streets project is in Old Trafford, in North Trafford, which kind of neighbours the cities of Salford and Manchester, if you're not aware. If you've not heard of the place before, I'm sure you've heard of Old Trafford, or the kind of the neighbour, the big neighbour in the area. But of course, it's not just home to Manchester United. The area also has bustling high streets, beautiful parks, and is a kind of a really big residential neighbourhood with lots of really wonderful people kind of working hard to make it the best place that it can be. And the initiative itself was funded through Home Office funding, as we just kind of mentioned. And if you move to the next slide, Andrew, you could see actually in the way that we were being asked to report on how we were going to spend the funding that we'd received. A lot of the reporting data was tell us how many streetlights you've put in, how many fences, how many CCTV, and how many extra police we've got on the streets to help us to kind of create a safer street. And we know that they are all, of course, part of the solution, but as we've just alluded to there, we also have to think about other less traditional methodologies to help us to create more welcoming and more belonging in our streets. So we asked women those questions. We asked ourselves, where are the spaces and places that make us feel like we want to spend time there and make us feel joyful? And if you move on to the next slide, it looks a little bit more like what we're going to see in a second. There you go, a little bit more like activity, joy, children playing, benches, greenery, creative lighting, hustle and bustle, and lots of people watching. So we really wanted to, within the project, really hold on to those ideas, the things that make us feel like we genuinely belong and are welcome in a space. And if you move on to the next slide, Andrew, we used a whole system approach as a way of kind of thinking about the actions that we as a broader partnership are going to take within the project. So thinking about from the individual through to organisations and then through all the way into kind of cultural norms. What can we do at each layer there to kind of create a whole system approach to that one place and trying to kind of push forward in terms of making it more welcoming for women to be out and about and kind of move through those spaces. And I'll give you a little bit of an example across each of those of what that's looked like, kind of starting with the individual layer. And before we do, it's really important, I suppose, in that individual layer, just to kind of mention that perceptions of safety are really, really individual. No woman, girl, or gender diverse person is just that one characteristic. We're like a whole mosaic of wonderful things. And we have a whole internal landscape of, experiences and stories that we've heard throughout our life that kind of make a difference. So throughout the whole project, we found that it's really important to know yourself quite well and know what experiences you're bringing to the table and to be really curious about other people's experiences as well. So within the project, from the individual layer, we did quite a bit with active bystander training. And that's, if you've not heard of it, it's essentially for those moments where you can see something happening to someone else, you know, they feel unsafe or uncomfortable and you don't know what to do and you're not able to take action, and then you feel horrible for a week for them, and because you weren't able to show that care for another person. So essentially the training is to kind of help you in that moment to kind of to take action and to show care for somebody else safely and in a way that's going to be impactful. So it talks about 5 Ds. You'll have to kind of have a little bit of a Google and hopefully go to the training yourself if you want to kind of know a little bit more. So we flooded the area, both people who lived there and worked there, with kind of over 26 different sessions with really, really positive feedback from everyone that kind of attended. If you move to the next slide, Andrew. And really quickly, you know, within a week, we were kind of hearing messages back of, actually, I was on a train last week and this happened and I was able to kind of make a difference. So quite quickly, that training was able to meant that people were able to take care of somebody else for themselves, but also for that person as well. If you move to the next slide, we also thought about the social environments and really kind of leaned into walking, reading and cycling as a kind of as a method for that. So there's lots of community groups in the neighbourhood already, and we were kind of I suppose asking them to kind of get out and about with the people that they worked with, and to kind of help us to map the area, to understand where are the great routes that people like to take, where are the great spots that you can rest, where's good for a pram, where's good for a wheelchair, how do we all move through this neighbourhood, and can we make that a bit more visible to help each other to do that. And we complemented that alongside kind of confidence training for cyclists. There's lots of kind of infrastructure changes that's happening in the neighbourhood, but there still are some streets that are quite busy, and so we really do need to kind of build up our confidence. And then on the next slide, you can see some of the quotes. And what was kind of one of the results of these sessions was lots of walking routes, essentially making visible all the different ways that you can walk through your neighbourhood and spend time and get out a little bit more. On the next slide. And then the next day would be the organisations and partners, and Old Trafford is amazingly rich and abundant in community organisations who are and have been for decades been working in their communities to make it the best place that it can be. So our role really within that as the kind of the partnership was to make sure that those groups had the funding to do what they needed to do, and that they had already had ideas to have to kind of improve their neighbourhoods with that kind of focus of women and girls. So we had 21 applications, and we were able to, in one way or another, kind of make funding available for all 21 of those applications, and that was to constituted bodies, but also to those that weren't constituted. And we found that to be really useful, because actually across the span of actions, we were able then to kind of fund neighbours who actually just, you know, the alleyway needs sprucing up, it needs to be cleaned and greened, and, you know, so that I can get to the bin and not feel uncomfortable about going out into the alleyway, through all the way up into kind of large scale events, football, history events, forest bathing, which sounds very lovely, I didn't go to that one, and kind of big family fun days. So there was a real kind of span of action that all come from ideas from within this community being delivered, something for absolutely everyone within that. If we go to the next slide, we'll show you what some of that looks like. Yeah, there we go. So lots of really creative things, lots of kind of photography sessions, lots of kind of fun walks, get-togethers, kind of painting placards, all sorts of things to kind of get us out and about and visible and doing something creative and fun to enjoy moving in our local neighbourhood. Then on the next slide, so then we looked at the kind of the physical environment. And as an area, it's going to see quite a lot of change kind of coming up with some of the redevelopment that's happening in the area. But we also wanted to kind of focus on the here and now and what we can do and how can we understand the places that we live in a little bit better. So that started with place reviews, really. So Open Data Manchester, they hosted about 23 different events over a number of months. And essentially that was really trying to understand what the place was and what it meant to people. Above and beyond, do you feel safe? Yes or no? Do you walk here? Yes or no? It was actually more about kind of understanding, well, what are the stories that we hear about this place? What do your parents tell you about what it was like for them to grow up here? where are the routes that you love to walk, and how do you feel in your body when you're walking in one of those routes? Are there places that make you feel anxious, and can we point exactly to the things that make you feel anxious? And how can we understand what's happening in our bodies as we're walking around this environment, so that we can understand it, with the hope that once we can name it, that becomes all more powerful. So if you move to the next slide, kind of following on from those place reviews and understanding the place and kind of getting into the nitty gritty of it, what that was able for us to do then is to kind of take that alongside those community grants, and find the places that needed a little bit more love, needed a little bit more joy, and kind of fund kind of street art kind of murals across the neighbourhood. So you can see 2 examples here. Where we took some of the stories of what we'd heard from across the neighbourhood. Our artists work with participants to kind of co-design some of these murals, and we've heard since people going the long way around, taking an extra detour just to kind of see one of these spots and kind of feel the joy from that kind of small upgrade to that environment. And then if we go to the policy layer, so this one can be obviously quite tricky to shift. So what we did is we worked with something called legislative theatre. And if you've not seen that, that's essentially kind of like a practiced play done by the community, but but essentially as you move through the play, which is about women's safety, at certain points the audience will kind of put their hand up and say, actually this should have happened, or that should have happened, and then at those moments where there's a discussion about, well, what would we need to change to enable us to do that, and that's done with policymakers. We had people from the police, the council, TFGM, and which is Transport for Greater Manchester, and then the combined authority from Greater Manchester as well. And those policymakers are listening to that play, and they're kind of having conversations. And essentially the ask is from those policymakers is to kind of commit to policy actions that they can take away and implement quite quickly. So it's a really kind of honest and open conversation about what is possible in policy making. And if you move to the next slide, you'll see that quite a lot of the participants were young people, and that was really, really heartwarming to see. And we kind of heard how important that was for them, because policymaking feels very far away, it feels very abstract, and actually kind of bringing that to life and kind of allowing the participation and kind of making sure that participation is embedded, it was really, really important. And one of the commitments to kind of bring to life was around active bystander training. And specifically for TFGM, they committed to taking that away and looking at some of their messages that they have around transport nodes and on public transport itself. And we can see that they have taken that away, and they have the kind of active bystander messaging now up and ready on the kind of the platforms, stops and public transport itself. Then if we move into the final one, which is culture. So one of the things we did is have a kind of a public awareness campaign, primarily on social media, so Instagram and Snapchat. And that obviously helps us to kind of really hone in on that one specific area and kind of really beam into people's homes and kind of living rooms. But alongside that, which we did have really, really great social media engagement on the platform that we created. If you go to the next slide, you'll see we also had public billboards and kind of campaigns that made that really visible in that neighbourhood, with the messaging, there's no place for it. So that was the kind of the messaging that we came up with for the campaign and conversations with women and girls in the local neighbourhood. And of course, it's a very kind of fine line between knowing that there's an issue and saying that there is an issue and we want to change it, as well as not showing women as being powerless and always being a victim. So there's always there's a push and pull there, but that's we landed on no place for it, which is very joyful. And one of the things that women talked about within that and within some of the community arts program is, as an area that is so flooded by largely male audiences once or twice a week kind of going to the football, and I myself live very close to a football stadium, it really does change the kind of the feel and the atmosphere of your home, your neighborhood. for an afternoon, they talked about how amazing and how important it was for them to feel that women were being represented, and that, you know, parts of themselves are being represented, and were figures within the neighbourhood when they saw this kind of influx of kind of this large audience traipsing through on the way to a game. And then, yeah, we wanted just to kind of flash up, I suppose, just to kind of close some of the things that we'd heard, you know, across all of those conversations and the walks and the events and the football matches, some of the things that we learned from communities about what is it that's going to help us make women, girls and gender diverse people feel safe, and what is it that they're looking for. So a sense of active community, active care for each other, so active bystanders, those who are trusted, familiar and have a sense of authority as well. The experience of participating, whether that was in the arts programmes or in the events themselves, that it nurtures ownership and connection. Feminist street design and planning, you know, thinking about places that are accessible, creatively lit, that there are places and kind of greenery, and the feelings of belonging, so ensuring that you're seeing yourself reflected in the streetscape, particularly important next to a football stadium, and yeah, places that are welcoming, so clean, green, cared for, there's stuff to do, see, hear and engage. So these are the learnings from the project. Thank you.
That is so wonderful. Oh my Lord. I feel so held by you sharing, just hearing the words welcoming, belonging, connection, community. It just feels so humane and human. And yeah, it's amazing. And I want to see it repeated and see more of it everywhere. So thank you so much for sharing, Kelly. And yeah, hearing people take the longer way home to enjoy some local art because they just feel like that would be pleasant for them is pretty amazing. So right at this point, I'll say let's take a quick break, grab a drink, stretch your legs. We'll be back in 5 minutes for more sharing and action. If you want, you can share your favorite energizer in the chat. What is it that you like to do? Is it a song? Is it a stretch? But if not, 5 minutes, we'll be back in the room. And that's our 5 minutes coming to a close. Please situate yourself because it's your time to shine. So give us a thumbs up so we know you're in the room. Use the X button to send a heart emoji, celebration emoji. So I know a lot of you got your cameras off still. So we know you're here. There you go. Wonderful. So as far as the emoji responses go, we have about 5 people back in the room, apparently. I'm kidding. Right. Well, I really hope that the break was relatively refreshing for you. You've just had a bit of a stretch. It's now time to spotlight the brilliant work already happening to support women and girls to move every day. And to guide us through this next part, we're joined by Kyle Tunstall from Merseyside Sports Partnership. Kyle, over to you.
Hi everyone. Hopefully all the hearing is good from my end, or the sound, sorry, from my end. So yeah, there's on the Miro board that Andrew shared in the chat, an opportunity for you to celebrate each other, share what's going on in your area, what do you see, and give a chance to feed and shape what this movement is and what it becomes next. Where do we go from here, I guess, after today? So it's your chance to kind of share with each other, and let's get things out in the open for us all to act on and share and celebrate next. So there's 3 spaces on that Miro board for everybody to input into, with 3 questions which will become clear once you open it. The first one is around what are you doing already, what do you see, and what is kind of in your space and place that is worth sharing and good ideas. The second box is around anything you want to share, any stories, any links. If you want to highlight your organisation and celebrate each other, please put it in there, and that'll really help us to see who's here and who's kind of playing a key part. And the third box is around what do you need or what do you see that is needed next. That could be from us, from your local active partnership, from each other, from this movement as a general point. Yeah, please share what's needed next. What do you see and what will be helpful? Please copy and paste the Miro link that's in the chat now that Andrew shared, just that you've got it and you can put it in the chat room next. Please open it. If we can just ask as well, if just one person from each breakout room inputs into that as well, otherwise the traffic will be chaos in that Miro board. It is a live board, so we can all see each other. And please put your organisation in there as well. If you're putting a comment, if you're asking for something, please let us know who you are so that we can act on it and come back to you after today as well, and connect you with each other as well if there's something that somebody else in this room can help with. I'm not sure how long the breakout room is for, but we won't
It's going to be
feedback
15 minutes.
Okay, 50 minutes. We won't feedback afterwards. Please put everything on there, and then yeah, we'll share it back out after today as well, so everyone's aware of what the input has been. So yeah, open up the chat that's in the Miro board in the link, and we will see you in 15 minutes. Thank you everyone for using that board. I think that's the first time I've seen a board with that many people contributing to it and giving to it, and that was amazing to kind of watch and see it, and it all makes sense. I thought it was going to be absolutely chaos in there. I thought I'd have no chance of seeing the notes. So yeah, thank you everyone. Just as a quick summary, some of the things that I kind of picked up within that board already around things that people are already doing. A lot of activity and girls only spaces, creating safe spaces for activity and engagement with women and girls, which is amazing. Workforce opportunities, volunteer pathways for women and girls. Thinking about active environments as well, on the back of the Right to the Streets work that Kelly shared earlier as well, thinking about work going on and work people are seeing around great inclusive spaces for women and girls to access, which is really powerful. Loads of research happening, loads of work in a context around transport and walking and cycling, which is really important. Other things around sharing, that I saw a lot of people giving research and links to websites where I'm sure there's more resource and opportunity for people to start grabbing a hold of it and learning from. And then the section around what people need is great to see loads of activity in that conversation as well. That's really helpful, I think, for all of us to be seeing, and how do we all help each other to give each other what we need if people are holding on to some of those solutions as well. So things like Youth Voice were coming out loud. Mapping was highlighted in there, something that could be quite useful for us all to know who each other are, what each other are doing, and what exists in each other's places, and how do we help and not duplicate. Partnerships and networking opportunities coming out strongly as well. There's quite a few mentions of that, which is something we all can kind of build on from today as well. And more connections from that. There's also an interesting comment in there around resisting speaking only to women. I thought that was a really interesting comment of how, I guess, for men and boys, of how are we showing up in the space and what are we going to do about this to be part of these solutions that will be put on a table for us as well. So yeah, really interesting points and conversations. We will kind of take note of all of this as well. We'll make more sense of it. I can see more contributions going in as I speak. So we will make sense of it. We'll condense it and we'll share it back out after today as well. So yeah, thank you. Back over to you, Ayasatu.
Thank you so much for your contributions, everybody, and thank you, Kyle, for that amazing summary of what feels like hundreds of posters that have been set up on there. It's absolutely where the magic happens, seeing all the collective wisdom and creativity in the room. So again, thank you all for your generosity in sharing with us. So for our final story, I'm thrilled to introduce Steph, who will share the Girls on the Go project. Originally a running club, Girls on the Go was founded in 2023 by friends Stephanie, Martin, and Caitlin, created to help makes running safer for women. At the runs, girls share their challenges with making friends, inspiring Girls on the Go to grow into a wellness club that hosts in-person events to foster friendships. Now operates across Birmingham and Manchester, Steph's work is making waves. Let's give her a warm welcome. Hi, Steph.
Hello.
Hey.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. I'm very excited to be here. I hope you can hear me. I'm outside because I was actually just at a panel for Merseyside Woman of the Year, so I'm a bit all over the place. I'm on the go, if you will. But yeah, do you want me to speak a bit about Girls on the Go and how it got set up?
Absolutely. It'll be wonderful to hear about how it got set up and where it's going from its beginning, and just like what it is that we're looking forward to.
100%. So yeah, like you said, Girls on the Go started in September 2023 because we wanted to create a women-only run club in Liverpool. But before that, actually, I'm actually French, and I moved to the UK about 5 years ago for university, and I really struggled to make friends at uni. I thought it was quite an isolating period of time for me. And then I did eventually make a friend, and then they assaulted me, which just sent me spiraling, to be honest, and it made life very lonely for a long time. So on top of the run club, we decided that it's important to create safe spaces in general for women where they can be together, they can make a few friends, and just feel a bit more safe and included in spaces. I think there is a bit of a lack of women-only spaces, and we're kind of trying to change that and combat the loneliness epidemic. So what our mission is to make the UK a less lonely place. And like you said, we started in Liverpool, we're now in Manchester and Birmingham, and our mission is to be in every major city across the UK, and then eventually Europe, and then the world. So yeah, we've got big dreams, big visions for where we want Girls on the Go to be.
So I wonder how it is that you found connecting with other organizations with the work that you're doing. Have you got any partnerships that you've been fostering?
We've worked quite a lot with Liverpool-based organizations, brands and organizations. So we worked with the Liverpool City Council and things like that. But we're always looking to work with more people. I mean, a big part of what we do is obviously trying to help women make friends, but we also use our platform to advocate for women's rights and women's issues. So we're a business, but we've fundraised over £75,000 for women and children's charities. Thank you. Because it's just really important to me and really important to our brand that when we have such a big platform that we use it in the right way, and we use it to advocate for all women, not just women that can come to our events. So yeah, we're always looking to work with like you guys, with the Liverpool City Council, and just as many places as possible to create safer spaces for women.
Thank you so very much for sharing so generously. I really appreciate you making time, and I think it's amazing that you're on a panel for Women's Awards and coming here speaking about all this ambition. And I'm sure there'll be people who would want to follow up and hear more about the work you do. So thank you. Unless there's anything else that you would want to share with us before we start to close.
Oh, sorry, I just saw a message. Yes. So I was just going to say that if anyone does want to contact me and ask any questions or work together, my email is hello@girlsonthego.uk. So I'll put that in the chat. But yeah, we're always looking to work with people and try and make a difference. And hopefully I can answer any questions and hopefully work collaboratively with a lot of people. So I think that's been put in the chat now. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It really means a lot.
No worries. You're so welcome. It's been amazing. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you so much.
Right, everyone. I hope you're feeling truly inspired at the end of this session. I'm hoping you've been able to see that together we can create equality for women and girls, seeing the ways to show that an equal society is a thriving society, and that when we all play our part, real change is possible. We've seen it evidence in things that happen currently, not just things that happen historically. And I find that particularly gratifying and particularly inspiring. So before we wrap up, just so you know, here are your next steps. Head to the website to officially pledge your support of our work. The support that you've asked for today on the Miro board, and there were loads of post-its, so we're very grateful for that. That will help shape what comes next, whether that's more sessions, maybe it's new resources, or a toolkit to help you show your commitment and do your work as efficiently as possible. And we've already committed to coming back together February next year, so make sure you look in your inbox for when that invite goes out. It's looking like another online session, so please look out for it. We can't wait to just hear what's happened in the time between that. Now, a post-event summary will also be shared next week. It will include the wonderful things, like a nice summary of the wonderful things that we've shared today, as well as a lot of the just a lot of the thinking around where we're going to go with what you've shared on the Miro board as well. So thank you again for your energy, your ideas, and your passion. And together, we know we really can create equality for women and girls. Have a brilliant rest of your day. Thank you all so much.